I have been waiting to speak to this man all year. My next guest played a huge role in the 2024 presidential election in communicating effectively to young voters. He's the MAGA influencer who made the Republican Party cool. Time magazine listed him last week on their list of the most influential voices. CJ Pearson, welcome to the program. You are one of the most influential voices online. How did you do it? How did you convince young voters subjected to endless indoctrination from elementary school to college, endless indoctrination in the culture? How did you convince them there was another way?
Well, Rita, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor to be here. You know, I've been waiting for a long time to tell you that your iconic Trump dance was one of the best videos I ever saw during the campaign cycle. But, you know, to tell you about how we reached young people, it started with reaching them exactly where they are. We absolutely flooded the zone on social media, and we had an authentic messenger to do it. While Kamala Harris was using fake accents, Donald Trump was being his unapologetic self, and it resonated with young people who were being crushed under the weight of the Joe Biden administration. His message of America First policies gave America's young people hope. And with that message, we saw the results that we did. And 20-point swing among voters 18 to 29 in this country, which, as you said, in the face of all the indoctrination that they face every single day, was a huge, huge stride ahead.
It is huge because we see this phenomenon in the West. Young voters overwhelmingly lean left. We see it in the UK, we see it here in Australia. But you changed that in the US. You were part of making MAGA cool. The rebels are MAGA, the conformists, the sheep are woke. And the media don't like that. The media don't like the way you've changed that narrative. New York Magazine was desperate to flip that perception, so much so that they tried to paint an inauguration party that you threw as young, gleeful and casually cruel, and also white only. This was splashed on the cover of the magazine, CJ. They cropped out the image to exclude the many Black, Asian and Latino attendees there. Tell me about this.
You know, it was absolutely insane. You know, it was in reading this article that I guess I came across the conclusion that I somehow was white. Now, that was a different conclusion that I arrived at this morning when I looked at myself in the mirror. But, you know, the reason that the left has to lie about what's happening in this country right now is because they're desperately so scared of what's happening in this country anymore. They realize that they're losing their grip on young America. They realize that they're losing their grip on Black America. And so they want to sow these seeds and plant these seeds of absolute division. But here's the deal. What's cruel about loving your country? What's cruel about supporting your president? Not a single thing. The reason they wrote that piece is because they wanted us to be relegated to the shadows and ashamed for loving this country and being unapologetic about doing all that we can to save the West and to save the country that we owe so much to. I will never apologize for being a Trump supporter. I will never apologize for fighting as hard as I can to make America great again, because one day I want to have kids in this country. And I want them to grow up in a country just as great as the one that my parents did.
Now, you're taking legal action against the magazine. What are you alleging there? Will a correction, an apology be enough, or has it gone beyond that?
You know, I think it has gone beyond that. You know, I think for far too long, we allowed the media to lie about conservatives with almost a lack of accountability across the board. And I think President Trump has set an incredible example. When these people lie about you, when they come for you, make them feel the pain of their actions. And so we're evaluating every single legal avenue that we have available to us. You know, the standard for defamation in this country is a little bit harder for a public figure like me, but not everyone at that party, Rita, was a public figure. Many of those folks are folks who work in Congress, who work for the president, who are private citizens, and they have the right to freely associate with a political movement of their choice. They have the right to support their president, the president who, by the way, won the popular vote. So as much as they try to stigmatize us and try to otherize us in this country, we are indeed the majority. And I am tired of being the silent majority. It's time for us to be the loud as hell majority.
Now, New York Mag has missed this exclusive, CJ, because you did throw an all-white MAGA party in DC earlier this month. Let's have a look.
And won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me, and I proudly stand up
Not the all-white party the New York Magazine were hoping for. Tell me how difficult it is to bring young black people into the MAGA camp. The black community remains the Democrats' strongest supporter base. Even though there's been a swing under Trump, they are still very much a solid supporter base for the Democrats.
Well, this party was prompted by the fact that they accused me of having an all-white party. So I guess I got to thank them for the idea, because I wasn't planning on throwing that back. It kind of gave me the extra push to do so. In terms of your question of how hard is it to get young black Americans at these events, into these parties, absolutely not as hard as it used to be, I'll tell you. I got started in the political arena when I was just 12 years old, where it was once taboo to be a young black conservative who didn't think with the color of their skin, but instead used their mind. I got to tell you now, when I go into the black community, when I go to black barbershops, when I go to black churches, and I ask the question, what have the Democrats done for us lately? What has the left done for us lately? It's silence. And I think that very silence has prompted the exodus that we're seeing with young black Americans coming over to the GOP, coming over to the MAGA movement. And I welcome it. And we're going to continue to do all that we can to go to the places that typically conservatives did not go before.
Now, let's hear from the man Joe Biden called the smartest man he knows, his drug-addled whore enthusiast son, Hunter. He's had a lot to say in recent days, CJ.
These guys think that we need to run away from all values in order for us to lead. I say, you. How are we getting those people back from El Salvador? Because I'll tell you what, if I became president in 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, or 3 years from now, I would pick up the phone and call the president of El Salvador and say, you either send them back or I'm going to invade. It's a crime what they're doing. He's a dictator thug.
Bukele or Trump?
Both.
There you go. President Hunter is invading El Salvador. The criminals are coming back. What do you make of Hunter Biden's commentary in recent days, CJ?
The only thing that Hunter Biden will ever be president of is Narcotics Anonymous, first and foremost. And that's the only subject that he's qualified to speak about is crack cocaine. So I'm not sure why he's opining about politics these days, but I think that he should shut up, and I think he should do so in short order. I got to tell you, it's absolutely maddening to see, honestly, a little bit reassuring to see that the Democrats still don't get why they lost this election. And I'm okay with their, selectful ignorance in this case. Continue to be ignorant. Continue to, be oblivious to the message the American people sent you resoundingly on November 5th when President Trump didn't just win the Electoral College, but he won the popular vote as well. Because the more oblivious you are, the more we'll keep winning.
Absolutely. Now, let's not forget, Hunter was the beneficiary of an unconditional presidential pardon. And he wasn't just mouthing off about El Salvador and, he actually did talk about crack cocaine. Interesting you mentioned that. He said that crack was less harmful than alcohol, amongst other things. But he was also outspoken about the Obama camp, Nancy Pelosi, George Clooney, Jake Tapper. The list goes on, CJ. The left are turning on each other.
They are. Every single day you hear this fake news story peddled by the corporate liberal media that MAGA is in disarray and that there's some new MAGA civil war every other day. We're not the side of the aisle that is in disarray. The left is turning on itself. They're eating one another, and they don't even know who their leader is. Is it Jasmine Crockett, who likes to pretend to be a little bit hood, or is it Hunter Biden, a crackhead? And so that is the best that they seemingly have to offer the American people. And it's no surprise why the American people simply are continuing not to buy what they're selling.
Now, the full scale of the Russian collusion hoax has been exposed by the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She's released a trove of documents, and they are shocking. And earlier today, President Trump said he wanted to see the guilty brought to account.
What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up to 2020 of the election, they tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. Barack Hussein Obama is the ringleader. Hillary Clinton was right there with him, and so was Sleepy Joe Biden. And so were the rest of them. Comey, Clapper, the whole group. And they tried to rig an election, and they got caught.
The president wants to see severe consequences. Will we see severe consequences, CJ, and what will that look like?
Hopefully, over the course of the last 4 years in America, we've seen the cost of weaponized justice in this country. We had a DOJ that was going after conservatives simply for being conservative, simply for having the audacity to don a MAGA hat. So if there are real crimes that were committed by Biden, Hillary Clinton, or Barack Obama, they should be held to account. Because in this country, it doesn't matter if you are a member of a political dynasty or a former president. You deserve to be held accountable. And I don't care if it's Joe Biden, I don't care if it's Obama, I don't care if it's Clinton. Lock them up if they did something wrong, because it's exactly what they were doing to grandmas who had the audacity to be pro-life in this country. So I have no sympathies for them at all.
Now, Barack Obama has responded to these allegations earlier today. That in itself is unusual. He said through a spokesman that he was not the Russiagate ringleader. He said nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election but did not successfully manipulate any votes. He added these findings were affirmed in a 2020 report by the bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee led by the then chairman Marco Rubio. CJ, what do you make of that statement?
I'd like to see him dragged before Congress and testify to that very thing under oath, and we'll see if his tune remains the same.
That's what I'd like to see as well. I want to see some real consequences, because what they've done here is outrageous. The media are not reporting on this, CJ, as they should be, because they were complicit. They pushed this Russian collusion hoax very heavily. They were invested in it, and it makes them look silly now, doesn't it, to reveal that, oops, we were all duped, or perhaps we were willing participants in this hoax.
It does make them look silly, but I think these people like to look silly at this point. They're a clown show of their own making. They lied about this president when it came to Russia. They lie about this president when it came to things like Charlottesville. They lie about this president when it comes to, Epstein and all of these things. And they're lying about conservatives every single day. They lied about me. They accused me of throwing some Ku Klux Klan kumbaya as a young black man. So there is no low that these people will not go to. And I think that's exactly why the American people don't trust them one bit. And neither should anyone.
CJ Pearson, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.